Hello everyone, Philip from BlackBull Markets here again. We have another nice sort of long market analysis video for you. We haven't done one of these in a while, so this is due to us having our trade in 60 seconds video. So if you guys haven't had a look at them, do feel free to check them out. They are mostly on our Instagram, so if you do not have Instagram, feel free to look at it on our YouTube. They are posted there as well, also on Twitter, so feel free to follow us there. On YouTube they are just called, it's in the playlist, trade in 60 seconds, usually updated daily. We do about at least 2 to 4 videos a week, even more than that. So, but in this we're looking at the high time frame, so anything from hourly to the daily to the weekly, even sometimes the monthly as well, because this video doesn't get posted instantly. Obviously there's some editing that has to be done, so we'll look at the overall times, the overall trend and everything, see what we can sort of spot, and maybe we can then look at lower time frames that could play out in the long run as well. So we'll dive straight into it, won't keep it too long. First of all, we have the AUD CAD here. This is the daily time frame. What we can see is we did have a bit of a consolidation with a couple of false breakouts. It looks like a fake out over here, so that could possibly indicate the trend to, well, the price started to push down, obviously. But on the high time frames, this is more unlikely. On our lower time frames, this is more predominant. If there is something like a fake out, the price continues and goes into the opposite direction of where the price did break out. So now looking at this chart, what we can see is we did push back in this consolidation zone. Possibly we could see it to continue in here, looking for on the smaller time frames, the hourly, 4-hourly, 30-minute time frame. We could see it to continue here for maybe mid next week, maybe end of next week, depending on how long it takes to break out. We are seeing a lot of momentum to the downside currently, so we could possibly see this break further down. If we look at the weekly time frame, we can see there are a couple of wicks that have to be filled. We can also see the reason for this sort of fast breakout over here, why it did get slowed down. If we look at the daily time frame, we did hit a support/resistance zone, bit of a fake out there as well. So we can see if we do move out here, we'll look at the daily, so we can see it push, then come straight back. We've got actually a gap to the downside, a nice retest of that zone to push back into this consolidation area again. So keeping in mind we have this nice trend coming to the downside, strong trend to the downside, so chances are if a knife is falling, it will continue to fall. So you don't usually try to catch a falling knife, but sometimes if you are lucky enough, you do catch them and you do get some good profits. But if you are looking to catch big trend reversals, please make sure to use stop losses. Seen a lot of people who don't use them and the trend just continues to the downside, so, or whichever direction the trend is at the moment. So, but what we can see here now is we are approaching this nice sort of support area, bit of a resistance as well. Previously in 2009 February, early 2009. So this could again indicate for the move to sort of get into a halt here, maybe push to the upside. But what we look at our previous times, we can see wicks that actually break past it. So monthly time frame is a very large time frame. If we look at the weekly, we can see it is nice space. Looking at the daily, we can see we are about 100 pips off that mark, so could be a nice trade if you were looking to push it to the downside once it does break. However, if you're looking to continue to trade it within this consolidation, depending on rejections, we can see we have previous rejections. If you want to look at the 4-hourly time frame, you will need to use this as well. So hopefully if it does continue in here, we could see some nice continuation trades inside of this sort of zone. If it breaks above that, keep in mind we have that resistance coming up at the 0.91180 mark, so nice psychological level. Could push to there to reject once again possibly and continue back to the downside. Moving on to our AUD USD. So obviously AUD CAD and AUD USD tend to follow similar sort of patterns. What we see is also a nice consolidation. We had that rejection of the resistance from that top that was broken. We can see over here we broke it, came to retest. Now again this one's not quite reaching it, but we are looking to push back into a very terrible consolidation area where we don't ideally want to trade. So we can see previously in here we had a lot of bad movement. Market is uncertain, lots of wicks, so ideally if the market pushes in here, we don't really want to be trading inside of the zone, even if it is on a daily time frame. If we look on a 4-hourly time frame, zoom it out a bit, we can see it is quite sporadic over here, so it will be fairly difficult to trade if you don't know what you are doing. Personally, well, even with my experience, I would try to stay away from this zone if it does push into here. These zones, however, are nice and clean. Looking at the 4-hourly time frame or the daily time frame, we can see nice clean candles. So if it does push in here, try to stay away. If it consolidates in here, we could see some nice trades. If it pushes into this consolidation zone, then it starts to push further back down. We can see it has actually already broken that bottom we had, also that wick we had as well. So if it pushes past that, nice clean way to the downside, hopefully to fill this beautiful candle we had in 2007, 2009ish. What was this? 2009. So maybe we could see some nice moves coming from AUD USD. Now moving on to our CAD JPY. Now zoom out a bit. Sorry, it's already zoomed in. I did this video before, but the audio wasn't too great, so I had to restart it. We're using a different microphone, but let's see what this gives us. So AUD CAD, what we see here is we were on the hourly time frame. What we had is a nice, zoom in a bit, we had this nice sort of high, this top sort of broken, sorry, CAD JPY, my apologies. We had this nice sort of top broken. We can see the market is rejecting the zone. So hopefully on the 4-hourly time frame we can see that it is holding also quite nicely. Nice wick rejecting into the zone, possibly to continue with this move to the upside. What we can see as well is even a nice, looks like a sort of wedge shape coming to the upside. So if it does continue within this, we could possibly see a trend reversing as we are approaching that. We already have approached a nice sort of top. If it does break further higher, we have that target at the 84 mark, nice psychological level. So hopefully we can see the price push past there. If this does get rejected, we could see a rejection move completing, or again filling this sort of zone over here that we had, coming back to the beginning of this pattern. This is what we usually see, but however we need to always keep in mind we do have these sort of marks, sort of support / resistance zone inside of these patterns. I always mention this, whether it's a channel, a wedge like we have here, any sort of triangular pattern, we have these inside support / resistance areas that the market usually does test or could slow down again and even reject and continue back into the trend. So we need to keep all these in mind. We can see here is another one right over here. So do keep this in mind if you're looking to trade this pattern to the downside. If the market is being nice, we could actually use it to re-enter or stack positions. So what could happen is once we see it break, we see a retest, you could look to re-enter. The market continues to push down onto another target, a possible re-entry and push down again. And obviously this is obviously in a very, very ideal situation. We could see another entry here and then to finally push down to the section over here. So a couple of nice entries if this does happen. However, we need to keep in mind if this doesn't, you should look at either pulling in your stops, taking profits, securing those trades. We don't want to take a nice, beautiful, positive trade and then have it turn into a negative trade and lose money unnecessarily. This is also again plays on your psychology, which will make trading a nightmare for yourself. What we want to do is keep it plain and simple, keep the psychology nice and clean, and not having to worry about it as much. Obviously it is still a stressful career, stressful hobby, whichever way you are treating it. So moving on to our Swiss franc JPY, looking at the 4-hourly time frame, sorry, the weekly time frame, we had this again nice channel to the downside. We did break it. We can now see prices starting to push down. So those lines I had on there were obviously again playing with those interior support / resistance areas of the market. What we can see here, we had this sort of support resistance marks. We can see support over here, resistance over here, wicks failing to go in there, candles failing to close above that zone, pushing back down. So we are now again seeing the move to push back down. Reason it is pushing down is because we did approach another resistance area, which is also interior structure. So see, these play a very important role in these patterns. This now could possibly, if you did miss that breakout, you could possibly look to enter it once if it does bounce off here. So but if it continues to go further below, we could look for a possible continuation of the trend. We might possibly have to reanalyze this. If we take this away, this could potentially turn into a sort of wedge pattern that we have over here. So this is a possible structure as well that we could see. A bit messy, but this is a possible structure as well. So if it does push in here, we could see it consolidate, maybe push higher. We might need to use this sort of this section over here as well. So again, depending on what the market plays out, and usually the major sections are support and resistance areas. The other ones are just sort of bonus structures that we do see. Now, push to the upside, we have a target over here, resistance coming up at 111, 800, nice psychological level. Again, push to the downside. Personally, I wouldn't look for anything until it breaks this low. As we do have a support, you can see we have support, resistance, you know, let's call them conflict of interest zones. You can see they do play a big role. So rather wait until it breaks this. We also will see on the daily time frame this was a double bottom. So wait for that to break if you wanted to trade it to the downside, and then look for a possible target approaching this sort of support / resistance area. Like I see, nice break over here, 80, 100 pips, nice trade. So hopefully that plays out as well. Try to stay away from consolidation zones like we see in here. So if it does push in here, you can see it is an absolute nightmare. Look at these wicks, really terrible. So try to stay away from them if you can. If you are experienced in trading and you do well in it, by all means go for it. But personally, I would like to stay away from these consolidation zones. Now moving on to our Gbp Aud. A nice weekly pattern, nice wedge to the upside. Again, I had this line in here. We can see it is rejecting a support / resistance, turn to support now. Hopefully we can see candle wicks touching it, candles opens and close on that zone. So this could indicate, with a strength and momentum to the upside, that the price could continue, possibly reaching, ideally looking something like that. So we could see a nice, 300, 350 pip move, or if you were to look for entry price, we'll aim for about 300 if this does happen to push. If it breaks past this zone in the future, obviously in the far future, we could see a nice move coming to the upside. If you're looking for a very sort of long-term swing trade, keep those swaps in mind. If you hold a position, swaps will start to count up. So this is again for swing traders. If you are stuck in consolidation and you hold a price and the market doesn't move, it stays in this consolidation, your swap will start to add up. Obviously there are Wednesday triple swaps as well that could start accumulating. Well, they will start accumulating, not could, but will start accumulating. So if your price stays in a neutral position, obviously depending if the swap is positive or negative, if it is negative, you will obviously start to lose money. However, a lot of swing traders look into the swap, and if you are a swing trader, you should know how to use swap in your advantage. You should know all about swap. So if you were to trade with swap in your advantage, you can use it, because obviously it does add on to your account. So if price stays neutral, the swap will start to count on and add onto your account. So you could be making profit using swap as well if you play your trade smart. We did actually make a video on how the swap works, so do check that out as well if you want to have a look at it. It's called How to Calculate My Swap. But moving on, back to the charts again, not trying to steer away. Again, like I said, we have that rejection. If it does push back down to this, we could see a nice possible move, shorter term move of this sort of support, resistance could turn to support about the 1.84760 mark. If it pushes down further below, we can pop back down to the weekly time frame and look for continuation inside of this pattern until we see it break out. Now, keeping in mind this is a GBP pair, so Brexit is on his way. Could see some moves in the market. Could be very volatile, or could be some nice clean moves if you catch your trade right. So keep that in mind. Usually, if you see these sort of consolidating patterns, especially in the Elliott wave, if you look at triangles, you'll notice that the triangle tends to finish. When the triangle finishes, there's usually a news announcement. That is very surprising. It's very interesting how human psychology works in that term. So obviously a triangle indicates uncertainty. These patterns also tend to indicate uncertainty. So once that news event happens, everyone's been waiting for that, market moves, and that is the reason these patterns do show up. So always keep an eye on the news as well, and very big news events like this, like Brexit, are coming up. Obviously we got trade wars between the US and China, so keep all these sort of fundamentals in mind. This year has been very largely impacted by fundamentals. But now moving on to our Gbp Swiss Franc. Going back to the lower time frames, we're looking at the 480 time frame. We have other two structures. The main one I have here is a flat top triangle, so again indicating with this trend line moving to the upside that there is still a bit of strength or momentum to the upside. So usually this does indicate that the price will continue. However, if we look at our higher time frames, we can see we are approaching a zone which was previously support and resistance area. So you can see wicks rejecting on the high time frames like our weekly. So do keep that in mind. But nonetheless, if it does reject that, we could see some nice movements inside of this zone. We can see the price when it does move inside here, they are nice and clean. Just get rid of this, but we can see a nice clean movements. So nothing to worry. We had a bit of consolidation here, but other times we can see there are nice clean structures within this sort of zone. So clean moves, we could possibly see some nice trades if we do move to our lower time frames. So don't worry if the market doesn't move you in a direction. There could always be a second option. So always keep that in the back of your head. Don't be fixed on one theory. The markets will always prove you wrong if you are hard-headed. So follow what the market does, and it will make you a very happy person. Moving on to our GBP NZD. So again, similar pattern. We have a downward-facing sort of wedge that we see here. I'll just get rid of this Fibonacci. We'll talk about that later as well. We have our interior structures that I have drawn here already, so we can see if the market starts to push the upside. What these patterns usually indicate is the movement will move there. Is looking to push there, but we need to keep in mind all these zones. So what we can see is a very strong rejection of a resistance. We could possibly see a push down. We need to keep in mind the sort of section we have had over here. So if it does break this, we could see a push further to the low side. However, what we can see is a nice move. If it does continue to consolidate, hitting that support, we could see a nice pop to the upside using both this wedge and the support. Now, keeping in mind, we do also, like I had that Fibonacci I mentioned, we will talk about that as well. What we can see here, over here, we can see it is rejecting that 38.2 mark right now. So nice golden ratio. If you guys aren't familiar with Fibonacci, I made a video on that as well. How to trade with Fibonacci. It's in my playlist, so do have a look at it. It is quite informative on Fibonacci. So do look for that if you want to learn more about that. And obviously, there's a lot of other content as well. But 38.2, nice section. If we see it comes down here, we do see a nice 50% as well. So this is close to the zone. So if we use our little box, we can see this is a very nice target. If the market does reach here, lots of support or conflicting zones that could indicate the price continuing to the upside. However, if it does continue down, like I mentioned, clean move to the downside too, to reach our possible target right down here, roughly the 1.9300 mark. Nice psychological level again. Now, moving on to NZD Swiss Franc. Bit of a head and shoulders here. What we can see, obviously, now we are approaching that Aussie time. So obviously now spreads are starting to widen as liquidity starts to come through. As liquidity starts to go down, approaching this Aussie session. So just keep that in mind when you trade as well. If you see pairs like this happen, or the spreads start to widen, keep in mind of the time that you are trading. So, but what we're looking for here is a possible head and shoulders, a potential move to the upside to complete that right shoulder of ours, and then possibly pushing to the downside. Now we need to keep in mind, obviously, with these patterns, there is a very strong, the trend is to the upside, so we need to keep that in mind. If it breaks past the shoulder, we could see a push at the top. If it breaks past that, obviously, further moves to the upside. And what we also see on the high time frame is we do see this rejection zone. But once it breaks past there, we could possibly see it reach this section over here, which is a nice sort of target of roughly about 60 pips. If you catch it below here, we could see a nice 100 pip trade. Excuse me. Now moving on, we'll go to the last one. We'll just jump to gold, which has also been moving very nicely. What we can see here is, if we look on a daily time frame, we have this channel coming to the downside, starting to reject based off of this interior support that we had, pushing to the upside. What we're looking for now is for it to hopefully break this resistance we see here. We can see a ugly consolidation zone. So ideally, you want to break this channel and that resistance before we look for any trades, keeping in mind for potential targets. We have this high over here, and again the ultimate high of this pattern right over here. Now looking at the high time frames, like our weekly and monthly, we can see there's not much. Obviously gold broke that high, so clean moves since that did happen. Gold's been making a lot of people very happy once it did break. What we're looking for here is also a possible Elliott wave pattern forming with our waves 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 pushing high, completing our waves we can see waves 1, wave 2, and then completing that wave 3. Keeping in mind there could possibly be a very strong correction before it does continue that trend. So that's about it for us. Nice 20-minute video for you guys analyzing the markets on the higher time frames. Hope you did enjoy that. Also, don't forget to click that subscribe button and follow by the bell icon to get notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, if you want to get in contact with us, please do so. You can email us at support@blackbullmarkets.com, or if you want to go on our live chat, or if you want to talk to us during the week, feel free to do so. Go to our website, blackbullmarkets.com, click on the little green button that says live chat, and our team will be happy to help you. Well, hope you guys enjoyed this week's trading. Trade safe this Friday, and enjoy your weekend. Stay tuned.